It's time now for an in-depth look at the markets on this Friday, and for that I'm joined here in the studio by Dr. Kim Seiwan, Professor of Economics at Ewha Womans University. Dr. Kim, thank you for coming in today.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, in his speech yesterday for National Liberation Day, President Moon did address the trade conflict with Japan, saying that Korea is going to move ahead steadily as a responsible economic power. What was in his message, and where do you see the competition with Japan or cooperation with Japan going forward?
I think President Moon's speech yesterday gave both of tough and moderate signals to Abe administration's economic retaliation. But President Moon's moderate gesture, which emphasized more dialogue and more cooperation, has been ignored by Foreign Minister of Japan today. So as of now, the economic conflicts between the two countries is stagnated. But I think there is a high possibility that the mutual economic retaliation would be raised in the near future.
Yeah, things don't seem to be getting resolved very quickly at all. But the Korean government, as you referenced, took Japan, or is taking Japan off of its own whitelist on trade coming up in the weeks to come. But what products are targeted by this measure, and what effect do you see this measure having?
As of now, Korean government has just started a process of delisting Japan from the whitelist, or the most preferential trading partner list. But the fact is, Korean government did not clarify the list of export items to be exported to Japan. I think Korean government is doing this for leaving for rooms for more communication and more flexibility with Japanese government in the case of Japan relaxes its own restrictions on Korean export in the near future.
Yeah, we've heard people say that they're going to announce things very stringently and then implement very flexibly.
Right.
Yeah. And responding to the trade curbs, the Finance Ministry, Hong Nam-gis, announced more than 2 trillion won worth of support for the parts, materials, and equipment industries. Is that going to be very effective? How effective do you think it'll be?
I think supporting materials and components industry by government money is a right way to getting out of Japan's economic sanction only in the long run. Because it takes a long time to develop and test the key materials and components to be used in the chip production and any other high-tech production, which used to be imported from Japan. So in the short run, I think we need to more focus on searching a substitute from other countries except Japan.
Right. Well, meanwhile, President Trump was going to put some new tariffs on China next month, and he's now delayed that to December. Can you talk about why he did that and the sort of scale of these tariffs and what products they affect?
I think there are three major reasons why Mr. Trump has delayed imposing tariffs on Chinese products. The first is declining stock market of the United States. Mr. Trump has been pretty proud of booming stock market in the past, but the U.S. stock market, for the case of the Dowjones Industrial has been dropped by 7% between July and August. So he wants to revive U.S. stock market by delaying the tariffs on Chinese product. And the second is U.S. agricultural products export to China. Actually, China was supposed to import more agricultural products from U.S., but they decided not to do it anymore. So the agricultural industry and farmers are very strong supporters of Mr. Trump. So he wants to renegotiate to export more agricultural products to China by doing that. The third is Christmas shopping.
Right.
So Christmas shopping is a really big part of the U.S. total consumption. About the 20% of the U.S. Citizens' purchase of goods and services. So by imposing tariffs on Chinese products, there is a possibility that domestic consumption of the United States would be decreased. So by delaying the tariffs on Chinese products, he wants to promote domestic consumption. Because of this, most of the items that is free from tariffs from September is something related to Christmas and New Year's gifts, like computers, smartphones, and shoes.
Keep those prices down for
Right,
Christmas.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, some are saying that this delay in the tariffs is a good thing in terms of signaling maybe a closing of the sort of conflict.
Right.
But others are saying that it really doesn't mean anything at all. What do you think?
I think delaying tariff is not a significant and structural changes of U.S.-China trade negotiations, but more fundamental changes is that in the shadow of coming election, Mr. Trump of the United States became more anxious about having no result from the long-lasting negotiation with China. The second change would be China is about to take another long-term position in negotiating with United States. Like, rather than having unfavorable agreements with Mr. Trump's administration this time, it would be much better to have new negotiation with new president of the United States after 5 years, for example. So that would be more appropriate strategy for China's future.
Wow, very interesting. Well, Dr. Kim, that's where we're going to have to leave it today. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate your insights.
Thank you very much.